Roman Catholics in particular, do we actually know why we believe what we believe, and why we're taught it and where it comes from? I put out a similar video to this, I think, a year or so ago. But I was reminded of this today, and it was actually through an evangelicals post. It was a pastor who had put a post out on one of the social media platforms. And what he was saying was that he realized that his own son had gone to university and had grown up a Christian in the evangelical world all his life, could speak out Bible verses verbatim. He knew the Bible back to front. He knew the Bible stories. When he went to university, regular churchgoer, all those things, he was questioned by probably some kind of theology teacher or whatever, who obviously isn't Christian. And his whole faith system fell apart because he didn't have an answer to what the guy asked him in front of people. He then started to delve into what he actually believed, and he felt that he didn't really know why he believed anything that he believed, and his whole faith system unraveled, and he tragically now calls himself an atheist. And it was another pastor that was relating that story, and this pastor then went home and began to ask his children. They'd been to church with him every week for no matter how long, and they also knew Bible verses, knew Bible stories, were able to quote Bible verses back to front. But when he asked them the simplest of questions as to why they believed what they believed, they didn't have an answer. They couldn't answer. And it was a really interesting point. And he was obviously then talking about the evangelical world, of how they need to do better at actually teaching their kids, their young people, why they believe what they believe in more detail. And it reminded me of my Catholic walk, because I came back to the Catholic Church a couple of years ago now, and I'd been in the evangelical world for a long time, for over 20 years. And I'd been away from the Catholic Church for over 30 years. And part of that time, I was a pastor of an evangelical church, knew my Bible really well. Same story, really. When I returned to my Catholic faith, on my journey, which took me several years, I needed to study I had to go to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, the actual big, thick volume book that terrifies Catholics because it's so big, and so wordy. But I needed to understand why Catholics believe what they believe, and where the evidence for that comes from, and why they teach what they teach in regards to all these huge questions that I had coming back to my Catholic faith, which was, all the things that I'd demonized as an evangelical through bad teaching, really, and bad theology. That the Pope was unnecessary, and the sacraments were unnecessary, and what Catholics believe about Mary is demonic, and just ripping the Catholic faith to bits. And bit by bit, I educated myself, and believe me, I'm still, I still got a long, long, long way to go. But I educated myself on, what the Catholic Church believes and teaches about all these really fundamental, important issues, so that when people, because I knew that when I swapped back, if you like, to my Catholic faith from the evangelical world, I was going to get quizzed and ripped to bits by people who'd known me a long time, and strangers. Why do you, surely not, you can't believe this stuff, that used to preach against this stuff. Why do you believe that Mary is who the Catholic Church says she is? Why do you believe the communion is the literal body and blood of Jesus Christ? Why do you believe in confession to a priest, and that there needs to be a pope, a visible head? What? All these questions. And if I hadn't have done my homework, I may have found myself not having an answer, having my new faith structure destroyed, really, losing my confidence, and maybe walking away from what I believe has been the greatest thing that's happened to me spiritually, apart from, me coming back to Christ in my early 30s, but coming home to my Catholic roots is the greatest thing spiritually that's happened to me. And I love where I am, and I believe wholeheartedly in the Catholic Church and what she teaches and why. But I had to educate myself, and I've still got a long way to go. So my question to you, without this turning into a hugely long video, is: if you are a Roman Catholic, do you actually know why you believe what you believe in the Catholic faith? Because it's important that you do know that for yourself, but also for when you get asked by others. Many people are returning or coming to the Catholic Church for the first time in these days, and they will be ahead. And Catholics need to be ready to help people and to give people answers and to help people understand the Catholic faith. Now, like I say, I'm no expert. I've got a long way to go. But I certainly know now more than I did, certainly when I was young. It's important that our children are being catechized. It's important that our churches, our congregations are being catechized in why we believe what we believe, and the basis of that. And if you're not a Catholic watching this, because everyone's welcome, how well do you know you may be able to quote Bible verses to people, but if a theology lecturer was to question you about your faith, how quickly would you unravel, And that's to all of us. So the Roman Catholics in particular, we need to be catechized. We need to know what we're doing. We need to know why we're doing it, and it may challenge you. There may be some things that you read that you think, hang on, I didn't know that. But it's important that if we're going to say we're Roman Catholics, that we actually believe and have some kind of understanding on what the Catholic Church actually teaches and believes. And if we are a non-Catholic, then we need to be understanding why we believe the Bible verses that we believe and what backs that up. So anyway, I thought I'd share that. God bless your day.